What's up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Studying Cinema. Today we're going to be talking about Dreamgirls starring Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, Anika Nani Rose, Jamie Foxx, Eddie Murphy, Danny Glover, and a plethora of other actors. This movie right here is loosely based off of the legacy of the Supremes, and it dibbles and dabbles from different stories based off of the Supremes and other characters that were present during the 70s and disco era of music. This movie really focuses in on how the relationships between artists and the management during that time were kind of wishy-washy. We see the character that Jamie Foxx plays in Curtis. He's a car dealer, and on the side he manages artists here and there. He's kind of like one of those individuals that seeks out talent. If you ever seen Mo Better Blues, he's kind of synonymous to Spike Lee's character in Mo Better Blues, and how he was going about managing Denzel's character in that movie. We see how Curtis, he's a hustler, he's a go-getter, a con artist to a certain degree. He deals with the people that he has to deal with to get to where he has to go to. He's willing to make those certain sacrifices and to take those leaps to get the fame and the fortune and everything that he wants. With that being said, we see him take a lot of gambles in this movie. We see him take advantage of the people around him and we see him turn into the person that everybody around him kind of always hated. We see how these executives will always take advantage of black artists by not signing black artists, but hearing black artists' music and then popularizing it through white artists who came out with a sound that was more in tune with what white people wanted to hear back in the day. A lot of black artists had their music stolen from them because of this act right here. They shed light on how Elvis was known for the song Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, but Big Mama Thornton was the one who originated that whole song right there, and she never really got the recognition that she deserved for it until years after she passed and whatnot. We recognize her now, and we have movies and documentaries about her now, but back in the day they didn't acknowledge people like that for the contributions they made to the music game. A lot of the blues and the R&B genre that originated from black people was turned into pop music when it got into white people's hands, with the way they was able to produce the same music just with a different sound. This is something that Curtis realized early on, but with everybody else being up and coming artists and writers in the game, it's all new to them. Something that they're not used to, is something that they're not willing to accept. But we see how this is something that Curtis turns into in the end by being that person that gets to the high top as far as black Hollywood is concerned, and taking advantage of other black artists by having the Dreamgirls cover song, becoming the same type of white man that everybody in the black community was kind of against when it came to the music game. With that unfolding, we see how the Dreamgirls are affected by it. The movie starts out with them being young, ambitious women trying to make a name for themselves, entering in talent shows and different competitions to get their name out there. The movie starts out with Effie, played by Jennifer Hudson, being the lead singer in this movie. And she's the lead voice. She has the strongest voice in this movie. And throughout the film, we see how the dynamics change once they get their name a little bit more out there. They go on the Chitlin circuit with Eddie Murphy's character, James Early, who is a well-known black artist in the game. He's one of those artists that hasn't crossed over fully to the other side with having the white audience enjoy his music, but he is doing well within the black audience, and he's going around on the Chitlin circuit making his bread. And the Dreamgirls are, they're ambitious. They don't win the competition that they're entered in the beginning of the movie, but they're offered to sing as backup for James Early. And with them doing well on the first show, they end up going on tour with him for the next 4 weeks, and then that leads into them becoming their own act in the end after they take a venture off into Miami that is headed by Curtis. We see how James Early has his own manager, played by Danny Glover, who goes by the name of Marty. And Marty is kind of the manager or the overseer that is just trying to keep James comfortable. He doesn't want him to get too ambitious, and he doesn't want him to feel insecure about the music that he's making. So whatever James is pushing out and whatever James is feeling like doing, that's what Marty is willing to support. But Curtis is trying to take it to the next level. Curtis is trying to get James to go over to Miami and perform, trying to integrate him with the white audience. They go ahead and make that move, but we see how it doesn't really translate too well in the end. And with that being said, this is when Curtis takes the opportunity to separate James and the Dreamgirls and have the Dreamgirls be their own act, calling them the Dreamettes. And this is when things start to shake up. Curtis starts to get in his manager mode and rework the group with having Dina, which is played by Beyonce, be the lead singer in the group because of her appearance. She's more attractive to the naked eye, based off of what Curtis's standards are. With Curtis dating Effie at this point in the movie, it's kind of the slap in the face to Effie, like, we are sleeping together, but you're going to choose this other woman over me because you think that she's more attractive and she's more presentable. And, I'm supposed to be the one that you chose. Effie, from that point on, kind of felt betrayed by Curtis. And every so often, we would see how Effie would take out her aggression and just be frustrated with the fact that Dina took her spot. And she took the lead role in the group, which allowed her to become more famous, become more known, and just live the dream that Effie thought that she would live in the end. Effie did have the dream of becoming a solo act, I think, in the end, and just standing on her own 2 feet and having her own record be out there. But with all of the promises that Curtis kept giving her and none of it being fulfilled, she kind of just got fed up and left. She tried to make a comeback to the group, but Curtis had already found a replacement. And we see how the movie starts to turn up during this time with the singing and tapping into the fact that it is a musical. This is a musical that's based off a Broadway show, and I feel like they do it justice. I haven't seen the original Broadway show, but me personally, I don't really tune into musicals like that. But this movie is one of the more enjoyable musicals to watch. It's never really annoying or out of place when they're singing. Sometimes it does catch you off guard with how they're singing songs back to back, but like I said, with it being a musical and it being filled with a bunch of people who are able to sing and vocalize the way that they are expected to, it doesn't bother me at all. So with that being said, we see how Effie is showing signs of pregnancy also. And we keeping in mind that her and Curtis have been sleeping together. She's also peeping that Curtis may be sleeping around with Dina now. So after Effie tries to make a comeback to the group and they deny her back in the group, Curtis just, lets her go off by the wayside. Effie goes back home and she's just, living a regular day-to-day life now. She's kind of struggling, raising a daughter by herself. And she's making ends meet. She's not really working for real because her biggest talent is singing and she doesn't really want to turn to anything else. So she's just, for years, just doing her own thing back in the city. While the Dreamgirls, the revamped Dreamgirls, are going on tour and becoming famous over these next few years. And with Dina being the lead singer in this group, she's becoming more famous. She's being known for things outside of music now. Curtis is now trying to get her into movies, and she herself is trying to get into acting more. But we see how with the type of ventures that she's trying to make, Curtis isn't really approving of the things that she wants to do for herself. He has a hand on everything that she does in her life. It's something that Dina comes to realize is not really what she wanted in the end. She wanted to be famous, she wanted to sing, she wanted to make all of the money, but she didn't want it to be at the hands of being under somebody else's thumb. And that's the kind of life that she walked herself into. She thought that all of the glitz and glamour and things that Curtis was giving to her and promising to her was great. And it was great at the time, but as time goes on, she starts to realize the type of person that Curtis really is. And he's not really the nice and go-happy person that he makes himself out to be. He's very conniving. He stabs people in the back, and he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain sometimes, We see how James tries to come back into the music game and makes a comeback with a powerful song that's about, uplifting the people during the times of the riots that's going on in their area. We see how him and Laurel make this song together. Keep in mind, they've been in a relationship throughout this movie too, along with the fact that James has been married the whole time. He's been cheating on his wife with Laurel. And, Laurel is the type of woman that she wants to be the main woman. She wants to get married, but, James is back and forth. But outside of that, we see them making this song together and they're very passionate about it. We see Cece, which is Effie's brother. He writes the song and he produces it and everything. And they introduce it to Curtis, and, Curtis is not feeling it. He's like, man, we ain't trying to put out no message song right now. We're trying to make people dance. Curtis is really tapped into the disco wave. He's not really worried about the blues or the R&B or anything that's really like authentically, culturally black in their eyes. He's trying to make the most money as fast as possible. He's trying to get as many people to buy the record for the purpose of just replaying it over and over again because, people want to dance at the end of the day. So That's his mindset behind everything. He's not really worried about the people right now. So after he turns his back on James and the rest of the people for making the song, James, we see how he turns back to the drugs a little bit. This is our first instance of seeing him do drugs, and we see him using it as a coping mechanism, you feel me? So in the end, when he has that acting out scene when he's singing on stage and trying to tap back into himself, he shows out, pulls his clothes off and everything. That's when Curtis is like, man, we're done with you. We're not going to be working with you no more. In the end, James has an overdose. With that overdose happening, it takes everybody else back. Like CeCe and everybody is just like, damn, we lost a homie to this game, you feel me? And Curtis is just like, he brought it on himself in the end. We didn't really do it. Everybody's just looking at Curtis like, he's soulless at this point. He doesn't really care about how bad he's affecting people. And we see that with how Effie tries to come back into the music game on her dolo. After CeCe leaves the company after James's death, CeCe goes back to Effie and he's like, yo, I got a song, but it's only right if you sing it, you feel me? So she sings the song, it goes viral within the chitlin circuit, it goes viral within the black community. People are enjoying it. As soon as Curtis hears the song, he's like, nah, we're going to have the Dreamettes perform this, boom, and has Dina and the rest of the girls going to remake the same song so they could wipe away all of the progress that Effie was making, doing the same practice that the white man was doing to them. And we see at that point that Curtis has become the quintessential white man, you feel me, by taking the role of putting down his people and just using the people around him for his advantage. And throughout the movie, we see more and more people notice this. Marty was one of the first people that noticed it. In the beginning, honestly, I didn't expect Curtis to go all the way into the deep end like he did. I did expect some twist to happen, but the way they played this movie out, they don't really they played it out very well, especially with the way that Marty and him were going back and forth. In the beginning, you didn't know if Marty had James's best interest or not, and you didn't know if Curtis was coming from a place of real genuine curiosity and trying to, help the people around him or not. With that being said, I feel like the way they played this whole story out was very well done. I could see why people really thoroughly enjoy this movie and really go back to it when they talk about how this movie is bringing out some of the best aspects of some of these actors. We see Eddie Murphy take on a different role in this movie. He's not really tapped all the way into the comedy aspect in this role, but he still fleshes it out here and there. But I feel like there's a good balance of him balancing the dramatics, the romantic, and the comedy within this film to show the full range of him and his acting ability, as well as Jamie Foxx. We know Jamie Foxx could sing, act, and he could do it all, So with him being in this movie, it's perfect. We see him sing a little bit. We see how he puts on a good performance acting. And the acting from the other actresses and actors as well really holds up to the standard that they are putting out there as well. So I feel like all of these people are on the same plane when they're making this movie, Beyonce, although like I said in the last review that I feel like Cadillac Records is her best performance in the movie, I can see why people enjoy this movie and say that it is her best movie overall. And it may be like the best movie that she's been a part of, but still to me, I feel like her best acting job was done in Cadillac Records. I only say that because I feel like this movie was more in tune with the way that she lives her authentic life, especially when you get to the point where they jump a couple years ahead and they're kind of out of the blues era, the late 70s or early 60s. The late 60s or the early 70s era. You see more and more how the beats of this movie, once you get to that point, kind of align with the beats that go along in her authentic real life. So I feel like for a musical, it is a movie that I would rewatch, and I can't really say that when it comes to musicals for real. I do feel like there are some good songs being sung in this movie that could bring people back to this film constantly. Jennifer Hudson had that iconic part in the movie. The movie is always going to be known for that part alone. But other than that, I do feel like the other songs in this film kind of hold up to that same standard too. That Dreamgirls song, every rendition of it, whether it was the R&B, the slowed down version, or the disco version, it was always like a vibe, you feel me? And you felt the essence of the movie being exuded when that song was being sung. It was like everything that the movie encompassed was intertwined within every rendition of that song, the ups and downs of the music game and how the music would try to strip all of the soul out of you. We see how artists tap back into their authentic self and go back and revert back to what really made them who they are. And we see that play out exactly at the end of this movie when all of the Dreamgirls come together and sing the last song together. All four of them on stage singing together. They bring back Effie to sing that last song with them. And Effie has her daughter in the audience to see her and the rest of the Dreamgirls put on that performance. And I know that right there did something big for her daughter, being that, she wasn't really raised with a father figure. She didn't really grow up having a whole lot of hope, being that Effie was in this depressive state for most of her life. So seeing her mom shine on the stage really uplifted her and made her believe in something. Effie was able to get her justice, for how Curtis did her. They were able to go back and bring the attorneys in and try to shake Curtis down. They made a deal with him because Curtis was doing a whole lot of low down stuff, making mob deals, just cutting corners financially. And they used all of that information, which was given to them. And when I say them, I mean Cece, Effie, Marty. Once they got together in the second half of the movie, once Dina realized the type of person that Curtis was and everything that was happening to the people around him, and how he used the Dreamettes to wipe away Effie's legacy to a certain extent, that's when Dina stepped in and, gave all of the evidence over to Cece and them so they could do what they had to do. And that's also when Dina takes the opportunity to walk out on Curtis herself. Once she walks out, that's when we go off into her being her own woman. They put on the last performance with all four women on stage, and it's a real good send-off to how all of these women are kind of content with where they're at right now in life and how they're able to walk away from this company that Curtis has built with some sense of pride and some sense of dignity. They made a lot of mistakes along the way, but they have grown into the woman that, they always thought they could be, being superstars within their community, being acknowledged for their talent, and just being the figures that they always dreamt of being within the music industry. And with that being said, they were able to leave a good legacy for themselves and leave off on a high note without Curtis having them under their thumb. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to give this movie a solid 8 out of 10 for right now. A lot of people may rate it higher. I'm rating it an 8 out of 10 right now just because I'm off the first watch. I only watched it one time, you feel me? I don't want to get ahead of myself and try to rate it like a 10 out of 10 or nothing. But it is a great movie. It's a great movie that's paced very well. All of the acting is done very well. The singing is very well done. I really do like how they don't really stick in one specific time period. They kind of like show the evolution of everything. You don't really know what to expect next to a certain extent. I know this movie is based off of certain people, loosely based off of certain people, but as somebody that's just watching this movie just to watch it, you really don't know where it's going to end for real. You can kind of predict certain storylines and how they're going to unfold, but the movie overall is not one that you could just look at within the first 20 minutes and be like, okay, I know exactly how this is all going to play out. Because you really don't know how all of it's going to play out. But yeah, with that being said, I do recommend this movie. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you guys tune in. It's a great movie. You'll see a lot of good performances within this film. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys keep on tuning in. I'm going to keep on pumping these movie reviews out. But yeah, follow us on Instagram and all other social media at Cozy Candids. And I'm going to holler at y'all on the next video.